And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis. You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Good morning, Car Clinic affiliates. Your Car Clinic minutes for the week of March 4th, 2019 are about to head your way. So go ahead and press the record button. As always, thank you for broadcasting and listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Have a great weekend.
Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Welcome to the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Forget about the million-dollar mansions, because this week we're looking at four-wheeled fortunes. Find out what $100,000 gets you when I come back.
O'Reilly. When your battery goes dead, everything comes to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This week, we're living the high life with cars that cost as much as houses. Starting with a Maserati Quattroporte, a four-door, five-seat luxury sedan with laminated glass, Poltrona Frau leather seats, and a Bosch Blaupunkt multimedia system that includes exterior sound canceling audio, satellite phone, and rear seat TV DVD player. Add a satellite navigation system, electric sunshade, separate climate controls, and a 4.2-liter V8 engine, and it's easy to see why this mean machine cost over $90,000. Believe it or not, this is the cheapest car on our list. Tune in tomorrow for cars that really break the bank. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Oxymorons. You know, the things that just don't seem to go together, like jumbo shrimp or deafening silence. How about new car and service manager? You'll be surprised. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything comes to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If thinking of the service manager while inking your new car deal seems like an oxymoron, think again. Though today's cars are certainly more roadworthy than their predecessors, they can still break. In fact, the experts at the LA Auto Show report that automotive repair is a $200 billion business, and 1 of every 3 cars serviced returns for additional work. So ask your new car salesperson for an introduction to the service manager. It's a small investment with a big payoff at repair time and for maintenance checks. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Anyone who's ever parked their car on an incline knows getting parked is just half the job. Getting out of park can be just as challenging. Do you know the trick? When I come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything comes to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here's how to avoid Heartbreak Hill. Ensure your car stays put while it's parked on an incline, and avoid the frustration of a shift lever that just won't budge when you're ready to go. Simply apply the parking brake, then put an automatic transmission in park, or a manual transmission in reverse gear. This puts the weight of the car right where it belongs, on your brakes. And remember, turn your wheels toward downhill curbs and away from uphill curbs. These tips can save you frustration and protect favorite property, your car. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Truth or dare? Truth. Have you ever entered the E-zone? That dangerous place where your gas gauge inches from full toward empty? Aha, I knew it. When I come back, we'll play dare.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything comes to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Truth is, most of us have run out of gas. But with winter's chill, I dare you to keep tanks at least a quarter full. Why? If you're stranded during icy weather, you could get the cold shoulder from Jack Frost while waiting for a rescue or hiking to a gas station. Also, low fuel levels create empty airspace in gas tanks. More airspace means more condensation or moisture, and this water mixed with gasoline adds up to expensive repairs. Now I'm telling you the truth, and I dare you to escape the E-zone by keeping gas tanks filled. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Are you wishing and hoping and dreaming about cars, that is? Teachers used to scold for idling away the hours. Now they give high fives. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
O'Reilly.
When When your battery goes dead, everything comes to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Daydreaming in class used to get you a trip to the principal's office. Now it could be your ticket to the winner's circle. Daimler Chrysler is sponsoring the Build Your Dream Vehicle competition. Students conceive and design futuristic, environment-friendly automobiles, then present three-dimensional models and marketing plans to judges. Trophies and cash may be the destinations students have in mind, but along the way, they learn about teamwork, finance, technology, and communication. And who knows, their dreams may find the way to your garage. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Happy March. That's what Fabio just said to me. So happy March to you folks. Here we are, March 2nd, 2019. Amazing. It's amazing and amazing. Let's talk about cars and technology today. Or actually, let's talk about hacking, not cars. We're not talking about automobiles. We're talking about networks. This past week, our servers, not our servers, but our servers of our longtime vendor in Tallahassee were hacked. And I don't know if you read the article or happened to see it on the web, but you've heard of ransomware. When I come back, I'm going to tell you a real story, and it happened to us last Friday night. And so we had not radio affiliates, because if you're using going through Westwood One, all of our radio stations were able to download our program. But for those stations and those television, we've got a television network in California that they were unable to download from an FTP server. We're still having that issue, but our Watch Bobby Live is back, our website is back, our email is back. We were crippled this week. Bobby Likis is live and well this morning, and Bobby Likis is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can shop O'Reilly Auto Parts for thousands of automotive parts. We'll talk about that as we get a little bit later in the program. I'll take your calls live at 888-227-2546 when I come back. Like us, you'll love us. If your vehicle's a little sluggish, try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. Using HEST or high energy solvent technology, Berryman's B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system, which help restore lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. Richard M's 99 Acura had 200,000 miles and was idling roughly. He put a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool and the idle smoothed out and the car ran noticeably better. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com. Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. A customer dropped off a 99 Ford Ranger for a routine oil change service, and she mentioned that the truck was misfiring on occasion. The road test confirmed a misfire under load, even though there was no check engine light or any other codes to be found. While performing the oil service, we found a coolant level low, sending up an immediate red flag. A quick check of the ignition system revealed the number 5 cylinder was the missing culprit. We pulled out all 6 plugs and did a quick compression test. All cylinders were pretty close at 200,000 miles. We then inspected the plugs closely, and the one from number 5 had traces of coolant on it. Antifreeze will leave a greenish yellow tint on the electrodes. This engine had a small head gasket leak or a cracked cylinder head. Tear down and inspection was more than the truck was worth. So we suggested K-Seal. We poured in the product, drove the truck, topped off the coolant, and installed a fresh set of spark plugs. It's been over a month, and the car's doing great. For more information, go to kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, loaded, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Shop O'Reilly Auto Parts. They have thousands of parts and accessories in stock. Brands you trust like Wagner brakes, Monroe shocks, Super Start batteries, Wix filters, and more. They can even get those hard-to-find parts. Most with free overnight delivery. Where? O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Okay, let's get this show started. As I was mentioning earlier in the program, or actually during the open, excuse me, moving around my microphone here. So our server, and there's a group of dedicated employees in Tallahassee that are in, of course, the server business and have been for, and we've had this program 27 years. I imagine that since day one we were with this company, and we all hear about hacking, and of course we've all talked about hacking cars and those sorts of things. And I have to tell you, folks, the possibility of someone hacking your car or hacking your remote key fob are almost nil. It can be done in a controlled environment. Let's say that you lived in say in the city. Say you lived in New York and you had a parking area and you didn't drive. Most people that live there don't drive their cars, but if they do, they have like in an apartment complex or where there are a lot of cars. Yes, there could be someone stationed there, and as you went down to get your car and you hit the key fob, that they could catch on to that code. The challenge, like your garage door, is with hacking a car, is that code changes every time it's used. Like your garage, if you've ever tried to program a simple program, a home light, where you push on the mirror or wherever the button is on your car, and you have to program that, and you only have 30 seconds after you hit the synchronize button. You have to go back into the garage, which it can either be up or down depending on whether you use the handheld garage remote to trying to program your car. So you have to go in and push the little button on the garage door at the same time that you work that, and it can be confusing. I'll tell you, because I've done that, and I did it recently for a friend of mine who bought a new car, and it was confusing because sometimes you're in the garage and the door closes, you can't get back to the car, or vice versa. Like, what is this? What is it? Anyway, but with regard to hacking a site, we all know that cybercrime, that's a serious situation. So here's what happened last Friday before our program last Saturday, because we didn't have Watch Bobby Live. It was down last Saturday, and even this week we supply, and Fabio uploads all of our programming after the fact every Saturday, which he will do today. And then we have affiliates all over the country that for reasons of their own locale and their own airing of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, do not take the program from Westwood One, which is the premier way to air this broadcast because it's live, and through Angel, and who is our Angel there at Westwood One in New York. They do a great job. So we upload the program, complete data file, which is 2 hours, Fabio, to an FTP server, and that FTP server still is not working as we speak. So for all of our affiliates, and they're running a best of show today, and in California there's a Healthy Life Network, which is a huge network with that's connected somehow, I believe, with like Comcast or someone and they may have like 276,000 folks that have access to our program. Anyway, the bottom line is, as we speak, we've spoken to our Tallahassee provider, and they are working on the FTP. That's the last link. Everything else is working as advertised, and the program itself never went down. But here's the bad news, and I'm not speaking out of school, because this was a message left on our server site, not our server, but our vendor. They paid ransom $6,000. Fabio, did you know that? They paid $6,000. Now, I guess the good news is it could have been $60,000 or $25,000, but whoever the criminals were knew that they'd willingly pay the $6,000 to get their business back up and running. So if you're in that business, and I'm sure that there's a lot of folks out there that are familiar with cybercrime and just how vulnerable. But I will tell you, folks, not only did it put us down on Watch Bobby Live, and our radio broadcast side of our two businesses was down for the week, we lost all of our emails. I had to switch over to my Apple email, which I never use, literally, and which was no problem, except switching it back. So some of the emails so it's like talking to everyone, but you're going into separate rooms to talk with them, and then you close down one room, but you don't know which which communication, anyway, not, I just wanted to share that with you. Thanks for letting me share that and for listening. I will tell you, and until that cybercrime hits you or a company that, our friends at Network Tallahassee are phenomenal. Josh Hillman is over the top, and I can only say that this has been the week from hell for him and his partners and associates and what have you. And I'm sure that they're going to take steps to where that hopefully won't happen again. But you hear about credit card companies that have millions of the data breach. So there you have it. Enough of that. Let's talk about automobiles and something we can hopefully control. Let's go to Missouri. And Fred, thank you. You're first in, so you're first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Well, thank you, Bobby. You remember I called last week, but we ran out of time. Got one that I'm thinking might even confuse you or give you a chance to investigate. But deal is I had an accident with my 2005 Hyundai Tucson and damaged the left rear tail light.
Okay.
Of course, some in the fender and stuff. So I took it to a well-known local body repair shop. Very good shop. They repaired the damage on the back, and I was pleased with the results till I got in it and started driving home and looked down at my dashboard and found my dashboard clock was not working. So I said, sounds interesting. Called them, let them know. And they said, I don't see how it's connected between the tail light and the dashboard clock, and I didn't either. They said I'd let them know about it.
Right.
As I drove it later that evening, I found that none of my interior lights worked. I also noticed that my tripometer on my speedometer automatically resetting to 0 every time I turned the vehicle off.
Wow.
Instead of hitting the reset button. And it appears that none of my door sensors are working. I don't get a door jar alarm or anything like that.
Okay.
What is your idea? What can be common between all of these different systems?
It's called a BCM, Fred.
In this car.
It's called a BCM. B as in Bobby, C as in control, body control module.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of cars, and I'll give you an example. We had a Thunderbird in, the 04, 05 Thunderbird, which was a retro look vehicle. And it had, as I remember, 11 different functions that didn't work. And they were, like named functions like you were talking about. And on that particular automobile, that car has 2 body control modules, a front body control module and a rear body control module. So what I believe has happened is that the body control module in your Hyundai has been damaged. And what you need to do is to contact your insurance company and let them reopen the claim, which they will, because that could definitely be connected. And it really is, because you didn't have all these problems before. And the gentleman that did the work for you, other than the fact that they took the car apart and put it back together, they would not cause that. When body shops work on automobiles today, of course, the first thing you do is you disconnect the battery, literally. And but before that, during the wreck, there was power going to that body control module. That body control module could either be damaged or need to be reprogrammed. But you can easily find, I say easily, you can go to asashop.org or talk to your friend in the collision business and ask him who does his electronic repairs associated with collision. Any questions?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm going back there because they did damage an interior piece of trim that they've ordered for me.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be contacting me
Great.
again. So I'll go back to them and I'll talk to my insurance company.
Okay, very good. Folks, have a take a hard break. Going to come back and take your calls at 888-227-2546. Let's get going. lamps, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's cars. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. Short distance driving means your battery is not fully recharging. AGM batteries are more efficient than traditional flooded batteries when partially charged. They consume less power from the alternator. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more AGM advantages at autobatteries.com.
Let's go inside the mind of a 10-year-old.
I should have worn earrings today.
Buckle up, Sarah.
Michaela's got like the best earrings.
Sarah, buckle up.
I wish my name was Michaela.
We're not hitting the road until you buckle up, honey.
Oh yeah, seatbelt. I wonder if there's pizza at school today.
It can be tough getting through to kids, but it's your job to make sure they're wearing your seatbelts. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2012 Lexus came into the shop with 65,000 miles and the check engine light. After scanning trouble codes, we located a variable valve timing solenoid wire had been chewed into by rodents. You'd be surprised at the number of cars affected by animals. Although the electronic solenoid was not harmed, we needed to splice a new connector and lead wires onto the Lexus engine harness. We reached out to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional and ordered the wiring parts. Tommy, our ASE certified technician, removed the engine harness, carefully cut the damaged piece out, soldered the new connector in, then sealed with heat shrink. Good as new. O'Reilly Auto Parts Pro stepped up. Lexus fixed, everybody happy. Another great reason our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, and all the other electrical demands of today's vehicles. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. Also, you might want to take a look at on the website for YouTube at the battery shop. That will help you if you're having to replace your own battery, or you just want to know some tips, or you want more information about how your car starts, because, no pun intended, everything starts at the battery. Oh, I didn't have to say that. We had an interesting call from Fred there in Missouri, who's no longer on the air with us, but he had a damaged vehicle, an 05 Hyundai, and as a result, that particular vehicle had issues with, of all things, the odometer reset button on the trip, not the odometer, but the trip set button, and some other dash functions and interior lights and those sorts of things. And as it turns out, sure enough, what I believe the issue was is the body control module. So you might want to wonder and think about this, folks. Why would some at random, or it appears at random, electrical components not work after an accident with the left rear of the car, or even a tail light short? And that's because the automobiles of today, including the one you drive, use electronic modules to control the functions of the vehicle. We've talked about this many times. For instance, if you decide you want to put the driver's window up or down and you push the little button on the door, on that respective door, that voltage from that switch does not go to that door motor. It goes to the body control module, which is a black box that's mounted somewhere in the vehicle, and it requests that the window be lowered or raised. And the body control module then connects the battery to the vehicle. And you say, well, why do this? And it's for safety, and it's for the ability to control all of the car's functions, and for each of the car's functions to know what the other one's doing, to put them all on the same page. And to that end, there's a system that was designed in Europe that was used on a lot of the European cars first, of course, and it's called MOST. And very interesting, I interviewed one of the founders or one of the executives there many years ago. He worked for BMW, and then he left and went to MOST. And MOST in an automobile stands for Media Oriented Systems Transfer, MOST. And basically, if we had, say, a neighborhood, just think about the neighborhood that you're in and think about the power company. The power company may run one cable or one series of cables throughout the whole subdivision, or it could be a Cox cable, or it could be AT&T, and they run that cable through, and then from each one of those homes, it has a cable that runs from the main cable to the home. And of course, they can control each and every home. And we've all done this, or at least some of us have, where you reset your Cox box or those sort of things, or you can just go online and say reset, and so you can control all those things. And that way you know which ones work and which ones don't, which subscribers are paying their bills and which ones aren't. Same thing for your automobile, except with an automobile, there are two of those cables, and yet they're on the same, maybe the same wire or the same fiber optic. But think about this. There's a high speed, like a high speed rail, and then there's an old-fashioned slow speed train. Well, in your car, your entertainment system, your center stack, all that is on the slow speed. Now, what is slow speed? I guess speed of light, but they're really packets that transfer back and forth. On the high speed, you have airbag, electronic engine controls, all the safety features like door unlocks. You say, well, wait a minute now, is that a safety feature? Well, yeah. When the airbag, and if the airbag should deploy in a crash, and BMW was one of the first to initiate this and design it this way, the doors are immediately unlocked so that first responders can get to you if you're injured and you're in the car during an accident without having to break a window, which, obviously your car might be upside down, or you might be in a position where if the window was broken, you could be injured. And so that's the reason that the car knows to and is programmed, get the word, programmed to, through its body control module and other safety issues, some of the 25 average modules on a car these days, knows that during deployment of the airbag, the car doors are to be unlocked. And to that end, we can dumb this down, which is, and no pun intended or no flame intended, to make it easier to understand. Many years ago, GM came out with the oil change or percentage of life left in oil. I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with that function, but if you drive a GM car, you'll see on occasion when you crank the engine up that you'll see that percentage of oil life and so let's say that you had, let's say you had 7,400 miles. Let's say you had 7,400 miles since you had last serviced the vehicle on the oil change. And the percentage of oil life was at 50%. And you're going to take a 1,000-mile trip this weekend. Or let's say you're going to take a 500-mile trip. Well, no worries. It's at 7,400 miles. you're at 50%, no worries. Well, so you drive one leg and you stop and get gas, and you've driven maybe 250 miles and you want to stop and get a break, or maybe you've driven 101 miles. The bottom line is, when you hit 7,500 miles, the percentage of oil life left automatically resets to zero, because what GM found was that if you let, and that's an algorithm, by the way, it's not a true indication of the consistency or the condition of the oil. It's not an oil sensor. It's an oil use sensor. Now, what's the difference? Well, an oil sensor, by its own name and terminology, would say that is the current condition of the oil. So if you got 50% left of life in the oil, that means that it's in decent shape. You know, it's half used, right? But that's not the case at all. It's a use of oil, and that use is determined by an algorithm that is based on the programming on how long you ran the car at X temperature, cold, hot, or normal operating temperature, or in between, at what throttle position, how many RPMs. So if you were to, let's say, leave the East Coast and drive to the West Coast, and you had and you only stopped for breaks, and you didn't stop, you had other drivers and you just ran straight through, you'd probably have a lot of life in the oil left when you got there. Let's say it's a 6,000 or 7,000 mile change, and you drove at 3,500 miles. Is that 50%? Well, no, not really, because if you had run the oil at 220 degrees, which is about what the oil runs in your car, 220, 230, what that does is that cooks out all of the condensation, which means that the oil would last longer if it was at a certain temperature than it would if you had driven it 3,500 or 350 miles, but start-stop over a period of a month's time. Because every time you start the vehicle cold, you induce condensation into the crankcase of the engine. They say water and oil doesn't mix, and it doesn't. But the condensation does cause damage inside the engine. Anyway, not to get too technical in it, which I probably have already done, but that's okay. You know, it's my nature. I'm sure I'm happy to be back on the air this morning at Watch Bobby Live, so I'll wave to everyone. If you're there, you feel free to ask a question. Jonathan will take your questions and print those and bring those in from the control room to the studio to me. 888-227-2546 is the number. Love to hear from you. And if you have a car challenge or some issue with your automobile, you let me know if I can help you, and I'll be glad to help you. I will tell you. I would like to share with you some interesting information about driving and warning signs. If you hit a pothole, definitely you'll want to make sure that your automobile is healthy, because hitting a pothole can cause a really negative impact on not only on your tires, of course, but the wheels, the steering, the suspension, and the alignment components. And from our partners at the Car Care Council, and by the way, their website is carcare.org, a nonprofit organization that is designed and created to help consumers drive safer automobiles. That's probably the net of it, because a healthy car is a safer vehicle. But many potholes appear during the winter and spring months because the freeze-thaw cycles, which accelerates the process of creating potholes. And the Car Care Council really urges you to watch for 3 warning signs to help you determine whether hitting a pothole has damaged your vehicle or not. So let me share with you the 3 warning signs, and I'll do that when I come back from the break, so that I won't be interfered with, or I won't have to rush. But again, in the meantime, check out carcare.org. What's really, really neat from a personal standpoint for me is you can put in your VIN number and the year of your automobile. Well, of course, the VIN number says all that, but the current mileage. And you will receive notices and calendar events that have to do with servicing your automobile, and you don't have to worry about, well, gosh, is it time for this? Is it time for that? I have found, even though I'm in the business, and I have those similar programs in our website and our operating software, but I find it very interesting that someone or some organization like the Car Care Council from the outside sends me a note, and so automatically I say, well, I wonder how close this is. And lo and behold, it's usually within 400 to 500 miles of just how many miles I've driven. Now you say, well, okay, you're a habit, creature of habit, but it sure is comforting to know that if I forget, or if I have some internet problem or email problem or notification problem, I've got the Car Care Council's site to back me up. I'll take your calls when I come back at 888 Car Clinic. Glad you tuned in today. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I mentioned to you the Car Care Council at carcare.org had created a document that helps you to better understand and look for the warning signs if you hit a pothole. And I will share with you, as I am now, those three signs. So first, well, obviously a loss of control or swaying when making routine turns, bottoming out on streets, or bouncing excessively on rough roads. That's a warning sign that you got a problem. Number two, pulling in one direction. instead of maintaining a straight path, and uneven tire wear. And they're all symptoms of an alignment issue, an alignment problem. But don't wait until your tires are worn. If you feel the car is not driving right, take it into your alignment specialist, your service provider, and have them checked. Also, low tire pressure or bulges or blisters on the sidewall. Occasionally, as you're walking around, just take a look at the side of the tires, and if you see a knot there, you say, well, wait, that's not supposed to be there. And sometimes wheel rim dents will be visible. And if you see a wheel that's been gouged or dent, I'm not talking about curbing a wheel, which I have done, which just is an ugly thing. It usually doesn't damage it. But you run into a pothole that damages a wheel, chances are it's bent or knocked out of alignment, other parts of the automobile, and it should be checked. Those warning signs all brought to you by our partners at the Car Care Council. And as I mentioned before the break, go to carcare.org and take a look at all of the information there, and you can cherry pick whatever floats your boat, whatever you're really looking for. And even if you're not looking for anything specific, you'll see on the site a host of how-tos that will help you better understand the nature of the beast, as I say, that you're driving. Why should you understand the nature of the vehicle that you drive? So that when you have an issue or you have a question about that vehicle, you don't feel like a dummy. When you go into a service shop, you don't feel like, well, I'm just at the mercy of this person. There's no need for you to feel that way at all. If you feel that way, shame on you. It's because you allow yourself to be in that position. And that's one of the goals that I have on Bobby Likis Car Clinic, is to give you buzzwords. So you go in to a service shop, and I did that just this week with a local gent. I gave him the buzzword and a definition of fuel trim. Why? He has 70,000 miles on a vehicle, and I won't mention the brand, and it has soot on the back of the deck, on the back of the car. 70,000 miles. And it's been that way. In fact, when he takes it into a car wash, they really never get it clean, and he used a special cleaner that takes that off the car. The car is white, and worst thing that happened was at a function one weekend, his wife in a light colored dress leaned up against the automobile, never thought about it, and the whole side of her dress had exhaust soot. And you say, well, is that normal? No, not on the back of the car. It might be normal for a big diesel truck, but imagine if you've got a nice luxury four-door car and you've got this vaporized, pulverized oil film on the back or exhaust film on the back. Is that normal? Absolutely not. So I gave him the buzzword of fuel trim because it's not oil, because the car doesn't use oil. And he checks the oil, so we know it doesn't use oil. And the only other thing that comes out of a tailpipe is unburned fuel. And yet this vehicle does not have a check engine light on, and according to the dealer, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. And I said, well, the check engine light doesn't necessarily have to be on, the fuel trim could be off. The fuel trim is a recording of the history of the air-fuel ratio adjustments as performed in real time by the computer, and that has to be within a certain limited time. It's just like if you got a classroom full of kids and there's a certain amount of disruption going on, but it has to be below a certain threshold or you'll stop the class dead and put the bad kid outside. I mean, that's the same thing's true for the car. There's a threshold of bad occurrences, or glitches we call them. And so every time you drive your car, trust me, there's some glitch that pops up, and the computer just stores that, doesn't do anything. And then next, it happens again and again. It stores that, and without exception. And I can tell you, with my car, I could go into my car right now and scan that vehicle, and there would probably be, on average, 12 to 15 codes. But the check engine light would not be on. Those codes would be, and we would download those codes. Left mirror, slow to accept input signal, or rear entertainment system, lack of communication to the CAN network, or anyway. But these are all little glitches that happen along the way, but they have to repeat. They being these glitches, they have to repeat several times and for over a length of time before the computer will turn on the check engine light. Otherwise, you and the car that you drive would have a check engine light on 24/7 because there are always glitches in the automobile. Let's go to Washington, take a call from Victor. But before I do, I want to remind you that I've talked about, and I'm excited about this, Super Chip. And I have in my possession right here from Super Chip an amped throttle booster. And if you drive a diesel vehicle, or if you drive just any today's vehicle, this is a great kit. But I've got this, and I ordered this for a customer with a diesel, an F-150 diesel. I think his is the 250. And this greatly improves the accelerator pedal response over the factory setting. So it's a throttle sensitivity switch, which is also available for on-the-fly adjustments. What does that mean? It means that if you depress the accelerator a quarter of an inch, you know that the car moves with respect to the throttle movement. But what if you wanted to go a little, you'd have to go a little harder or a little more aggressively. You would have to push an inch or an inch and a half on the throttle. Well, what if you could adjust, and that's not a linear movement, but what if you could adjust that? Well, that's what this Super Chip does. It amps the throttle, and you can have settings, and on the fly, now I've got to get another switch ordered for this car, this truck, because you can adjust the throttle sensitivity. So if you're in slow traffic and you have to just barely tease the throttle, you don't want the throttle to be amped up. But if you're driving normally, or if you're just, enjoying the power of the diesels today, which is unbelievable, you might want that. But anyway, go to superchips.com and take a look for yourself. And I'm going to give you a report when I install this kit, and I'll make a video as well. In the meantime, Victor, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. Just wondering, the computers have memories. Now, when you check them out on your checkout computer, does that come back to you in the English language, or dots and dashes? Do you have to use a dictionary, or how does it communicate with you?
Well, funny, but it's all English language, but it's not all in the same style. For example, a typical code would be like a P401 or a P300 or what have you, and that's a PID anyway. So it would be a report on a particular, like an O2 sensor, let's say, or the engine was lean. Well, Mercedes uses a different language, not German, but they call it something different. And I'll give you an example. The computer controls, Victor, the idle speed of your vehicle. If you disconnected the idle speed, there is a mechanical setting of the throttle that is about 450 to 500 RPM, much lower than the engine would ever idle at, but also physically, the throttle is physically set open enough that the car would not die if the computer were to fail. And the air bypass or the throttle control unit. Anyway, so you have the mechanical setting, and then you have the computer that adjusts on the fly the idle opening of the throttle plate, because if the engine's idling at 800 RPM and you turn on the air conditioner and the headlights, it's going to pull it down to 600 because that takes horsepower. Well, the RPM in the computer sees that it's now below the threshold and brings it up. If that didn't work, then it would, because the throttle plate was seized or dirty or what have you, then it would throw a code, and that code would have a number, and we have professional manuals that convert those numbers and give us in English, give us that definition of so that we can know where to go in the car to find that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Is the memory kept in the chip, or is there some other recorder platter or something that the chip puts it on, or how is the memory held it's held for many days and a long time in that memory, and it's compiling more all the time.
Yes.
Is that in those little chips, or is that somewhere else in the computer?
It's in the computer. It's in the module, and it's within the memory. I guess it's like a cache in your computer, that PC or Mac that you have, except that every time you reboot your Mac, and I'm sure this happens, some of that workload is trashed or erased. But with regard to codes that are set, whether the check engine light comes on or not, if there's an issue with any of those particular cars or our car, that computer will keep that until you say erase it. And therein lies a real issue. And here's why. Sometimes, a lot of times, we get cars to work on that come from other shops and that had a problem. But the other shop that checked the codes, maybe they did a repair that didn't repair it, but after the repair, they erased the codes. Now there's no medical record, as you might think. There's no record of those codes. So whenever we have a vehicle in, we do the same thing, but we always save the trash, let's say to speak, or save the plethora of codes to that car's VIN in that file. And that's how we can go back, and we do that on purpose, because if we put, for instance, we had a Nissan in here about a month ago that had a problem with the check engine light, and it was an evap code, and we repaired a hose and some other damaged soft goods, hoses, and nothing, not a bad part on that vehicle. Well, about a month later, that vehicle came back in just this week with the check engine light back on, and we checked it, and now it has a solenoid. So what's wrong with that vehicle now is that the canister tank with solenoid is physically defective. Now, does that have anything to do with what we worked on before? Sure, because it was the same code and it was the same issue, but not the same problem. It was just the same check engine light and the same system in the car, the evap. In other words, we could have put a gas cap on it and reset the light and erase the codes, and the car would have been not fixed, but it would have been fixed for whatever that was causing it at that time. And then you go another week or another month or another 6 months, and sure enough, you've got that same code that comes back on, but it's a different problem. Therein lies where you have to really have a great connection with your service provider, because you only have one light, and you could have hundreds of reasons for that light to be on. But for your information, every code that's ever been produced should be saved by the shop that is working on the vehicle, because if and when you have to clear the vehicle, you never give the car back to the customer without you clearing the vehicle, unless you, because anyway the code would still be in there. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, in other words, your big main brain computer in your shop has a memory of every car you've ever had in your shop, and keeps a memory of what was right and wrong with it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We have we have like multiple machines and multiple laptops, but we have that car and that car's records. Now, I will say this: we won't have every code for every service that we performed on that car easily available, because we're always using different equipment, because the industry changes so rapidly that we buy the latest piece of equipment. Makes me sick sometimes. I mean, we buy the latest piece of equipment for $8,000, and 16 months later or 9 months later, it's outdated, or the program's outdated. That's why you buy these machines now, and you pay anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 a year for updates, because those updates allow you to work on a newer car, because cars are always changing. It's the most changing industry of all that I can think of today, and, at least that I'm familiar with, because we're in the trenches every day. Always good to hear from you, Victor. Thank you. And folks, it's really great just to be here and to be live, because, as I said, we were our vendor and our partner was hacked last week, and so if you're watching on Watch Bobby Live, it sure is great to be here. Bobby Likis Car Clinic has been brought to you in part by Berryman Products. If your vehicle's a little sluggish, folks, and you're experiencing poor fuel economy, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool, featuring their exclusive HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean your fuel system, and it can result in higher compression, fewer repairs, and lower operating costs. You can learn more at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com. Thanks for tuning in this hour. Another great hour coming up, and I'll take your calls at Bobby Likis Car Clinic at Car Clinic Live. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Grundy Insurance began selling agreed value policies in 1947. These policies are set at the time they're issued, detailing the amount a policyholder will receive and an insurance company will pay in the event of total loss or theft of a vehicle. It's the safest way to protect the restoration cost and appreciating value of collector cars. Actual cash value policies and stated value policies do not establish the amount in advance. Learn more about agreed value policies at the Insurance 101 section at Grundy.com. That's Grundy.com. Your vehicle a little sluggish? Try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. Using HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology, Berryman B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system to help restore lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. According to Terry Kay, I used Berryman B12 Chem Tool on my parents' 2000 Chevy Impala with 140,000 miles. We noticed a marked improvement almost immediately. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulsiford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulsiford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with. And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Sure, I'm happy to be here this morning. And as we were and have been for some 27 years, we did have, as I mentioned, if you heard the first hour of today's Car Clinic programs, we were hacked last Friday night, not this past Friday, but Friday a week ago. although we still were broadcasting through our Westwood One satellite to all of our AM and FM stations that pull us off the satellite program. So basically, we from a radio standpoint, we're still alive and well. But on our YouTube channel, our Watch Bobby Live channel, and our website, we lost that this week, as well as all emails. And so it was a crippling device. It was a humbling event, I can tell you that. And it was terrible because not only we were affected, but thousands of people because of our provider in Tallahassee and Network Tal. So I want to just briefly shout out to Josh and all the support group at Network Tallahassee that literally had to pay, as I understand, a $6,000 ransom to get their property back. Fact. Unbelievable. So I bet that won't happen again, or, well, it might. You never know. Hacking can be and is a serious thing. I'll take your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. Let's get started. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by Diablo Sport. Folks, you can take the guesswork out of trying to pair performance products. The Reaper Stage 1 kit is a performance combo that's designed to improve power, drivability, and mileage potential. You can drive to DiabloSport.com for all the information that you need. And if you drive a Ford product, a GM, a Jeep, a Chrysler, then you need to check out DiabloSport.com, because you're leaving horsepower and torque and potential gas mileage on the table. Again, DiabloSport.com. We'll take your calls now. Hannah at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. She will put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. We'll go to John. John, you're first in, so welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby. It's good to hear you again.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I'm calling from Sebring, getting ready for the 12 hours of Sebring here next week.
What memories that brings to me, John. Absolute memories. Every year for many, many years, I and my cousin and 3 of his employees would make the trek down to Sebring, and it was a trek, too. I would drive from Pensacola to Tallahassee, where he lives and still does, and then we would drive to another place and get a motorhome, and we rented a special parking place every year directly across from the pit lane behind the wall, opposite across the track from the pit lane. And what an exciting experience that is. And folks, if you've never seen an automobile, if you call those race cars automobiles, they're on 4 wheels. If you've never seen 5 different classes of automobiles running on the same track at nighttime, rain or shine, you ain't seen nothing, because it was such an exciting event. But anyway, John, it's always great to hear from Sebring folks.
Thank you. The reason I'm calling is I have a 2015 Kia Soul, and the tire pressure warning light comes on, and in the Soul it doesn't tell you which tire has the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made sure all of the tires are set at the proper temperature, and it still is on. So I took it to a place, and I asked them if they could just, the price was going to be like $700 to replace them.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I just want them taken out. And he said he can't do that. It's against the law.
Well, he can't modify. Yeah, right. He can't modify the vehicle. That's a safety issue. So he's right. He can't modify it. Those sensors, normally, and I'm not into the pricing because my team deals with that on a daily basis. But it seems
right.
So here's what I would recommend, and here's what I've done. When you're ready for a new set of tires, is when you put the sensors in, and those sensors can run anywhere from $40 to $70 a piece, depending on the sourcing and the automobile. But so I guess you've got, if you have live sensors, you have what's called direct system. So each tire has its own sensor. And have you checked the spare? Because sometimes the spare will have a sensor as well.
I have not.
Do that.
I have not.
Do that, because wouldn't it be great if you didn't have? Wouldn't it be great if this phone call saved you $700 and you had a low spare tire and it had a sensor string in it? So do check the spare, and if it's one of those donuts, it's probably 55 psi. I doubt that it would have a sensor, and I'm not sure the 15 Kia does. But I know that a lot of cars do. So do that first. But what other questions do you have besides the $700 issue? Wow, that's tough.
Well, no, it was just, it makes sense now. If you're saying they're $40, $50 a piece, that's $200 and fit the labor to put it in there. I can understand it now.
Well, but the labor. But here, let me say this. Not to throw cold water on the $700. When we replace a sensor, we don't have to take the tire off the wheel, but we have to break down that one side of the wheel, and so you can push the tire in and gain access to the valve core, because that's what you're replacing. The valve core is the sensor, and so by all means, if those, but usually, John, they won't all be bad. One of those will be bad, and we do have machines that we can walk around the car and get the RF from the individual sensor and see. So you might want to get a second opinion to find out which, because they're not all bad. They won't all go bad at the same time. You know, batteries don't do that.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I would suggest. Okay?
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good call. And we'll take another one. 888-227-2546, folks. I'm easy to get to today. I'm proud to be here. We were here last week, but some of you didn't catch us at Watch Bobby Live, so I'll wave at everyone who's tuned in to Watch Bobby Live. Sure is great to be back up and very, very excited there. We'll take a call from, who's up next? David. Let's go to David. David, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. What can I do for you today?
Yes, sir. I've got a 2008 Tahoe. It's got a 5.3 engine. It's got about 269,000 miles on it. In November, I lost oil pressure, and I took it to the Chevrolet place. They said it had a weak oil pump, but they refused to replace it. I had to get a mechanic to do it. He's replaced it, worked for about 8 weeks, and then suddenly dropped again. So we thought, well, the pump was bad. So he warranted the pump, put another one in, and he's checked the screen on the sensor and the sensor and all that stuff, but it's still not really holding oil pressure good. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay, well, I know what's wrong with it, and I just don't know, because we're going behind a shop that I really feel for the shop. If he replaced if he put a new pump on and then said the pump's bad, number one, we just don't get bad oil pumps. Number two, I don't believe the pump was bad to start with. But that doesn't matter. Here's a common problem on that engine. The pickup tube that he checked to make sure it was clean and clear, which is the right thing to do, bolts to the block. And so you've got a screen down in the oil and hooked to mounted onto a tube, a steel tube that's, looks like a hose pipe, but it's metal. It's about 5/8 of an inch in diameter, and it snakes its way into the bottom of the block where it has a flange with a bolt that holds it in place, and it has a support at the screen end where it bolts onto one of the main bearing saddles or what have you, so that you've got this fixture in place. Well, where that fixture plugs into your block is the passageway that feeds the oil pump. There's an O-ring, and that O-ring has a reputation and a history of being brittle and losing its connection, and so the oil pump sucks air, just like if you've ever smoked a cigarette that had a hole in the side of the cigarette, it didn't work because it's easier to draw air than it is to draw the smoke. So it's the same thing for that oil pump. It's drawing air. And so the first thing and that's one situation. And I've repaired many, many cars like this, GM cars. The second is that the sensor on the back, on 2 occasions in the last 2 years, on 2 occasions, I've had sensors that we bought that went to 0 and showed 0 pressure, and yet the engine had no noise, so I knew that there was oil pressure there. And one of these belongs to a local gentleman, a longtime friend of mine, and he called and he says, "Hey man, what do I do?" I said, "Well, no oil pressure." I said, "Well, do you hear any noise?" He said, "Well, no," but I said, "Let's tow it in." So we towed the vehicle in, and sure enough, it was the sensor. So I replaced the sensor, and we tried a different brand, and I put a Delco sensor on it. And we have yet to have any issues with a Delco sensor. And then last but not least, David, that sensor is almost impossible to get to. According to the books, you have to pull the intake manifold because it's behind the block on the back side. But you can, if you're experienced, you can get to it. Problem is, behind that sensor, on some of those engines, not sure yours is involved, there's a screen. And that screen can get blocked, and if it does, it causes a lack of oil to the lifters. And to that end, GM dealers have sold and aftermarket parts more GM lifters because they get damaged by the screen. So the oil galley screen, the oil sender, Delco, and pull the oil pan and pull the pickup tube off and replace the O-ring on it and reassemble and go from there. And I'm going from here. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to WalkerProducts.com. We recently worked on an 03 Buick Park Avenue with a 3.8 engine, and the vehicle had been a workhorse, 190,000 miles and more. That said, fuel economy had slipped from 24 mpg to 19. On cold startup, the check engine light flashed. In addition to rough idling, engine fuel trim pointed toward carbon issues. A quick scan revealed random misfire code P0300. The codes were cleared, and after a visual inspection of the ignition system and fuel filter change, we added a can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool to a fresh tank of fuel. After a 400-mile round trip and a second can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, fuel economy was back to 24 miles per gallon and idle quality was restored. Many times, complex running issues are traced to carbon issues on today's vehicles. Fuel system maintenance starts with simple tank additives as the first step in carbon cleaning your engine. The next time your vehicle is sluggish or experiencing fuel economy that's not up to par, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Learn more at BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone
From Geico Auto Insurance. When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great news. Are you familiar with classic cars? Well, duh. No, that's not a loaded question. I happen to have a classic car that I'm very fond of, and I've had for some 34 years. And one of the challenges is, how do I insure that automobile for what not only do I think it's worth, but what it really is worth, and the industry continues to change. My car happens to be a limited edition VSOC or YSOC 911 Porsche 1980 model, of which only 406 were imported and made into for the United States by Porsche. And during the years 80 through 85, Porsche imported 0 turbo cars. And because of that, they said, well, gosh, we got to come out with a special car, and that's where I have one of those automobiles. Well, to insure that car for what it's truly worth, and I don't really know what it's worth, I just know that it's worth about 50% more than it was 5 years ago. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I wish I had 100 of them. Of course, if I had 100, I don't guess it would be worth as much, because it would be more common. Anyway, I'm proud to say that Bobby Likis Car Clinic is now currently brought to you in part by Grundy Insurance. They're the inventors of, and get this folks, the Agreed Value Insurance Policy. It's the safest way to protect your collector car, and you can learn more at Grundy.com. And here's the best news. Jim Grundy is the president and CEO, and I've invited him to come on air next week with me. So if you have a classic car question, or you just want to know a bit more about where to get coverage, real coverage for your classic car, be sure and tune in next Saturday, because we're going to have Jim Grundy on air with us. In the meantime, take a look at Grundy.com so you'll know what questions you want to ask. Now let's go to Texas. Well, let's go to Nebraska first, and then we'll go to Texas. Michael, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, Bobby. I've got a 2006 Honda Accord. Just hit 250,000 miles on it last month. As soon as I hit 250,000, all heck started breaking loose. I took it to my mechanic. I had a huge decrease in mileage. We did an O2 sensor, air induction tube. Plugs look good. Everything else looked good. Changed filters. I used to get about 33 to 35 to the gallon on the highway. Now I'm only getting about 23.
Wow.
So I've done a fuel injection cleaner with it, everything. We did everything last week. I'm still getting the same amount of mileage. I've had no mileage change. It runs perfect, strong power, wonderful idle. I'm just not sure what I should try next, so I'm not just throwing things at it.
I agree with you. Can you tell me categorically if the engine temperature is normal operating temperature, and the only way you could say that is if the gauge reads where it's always read. Can you say that it runs as hot or in the normal range as it always has?
The gauge has always been the same, but I'll tell you this. Several months ago, I hit a raccoon, and it rolled the frame below my radiator and then bowed in the radiator a little bit. My mechanic did not want to change that because it's not leaking, and it's not. It hasn't caused it to overheat at all. But I have not seen a change in the gauge.
Well, overheat would not be the issue. Actually, underheat would be the issue, because if you had, for instance, a thermostat that was in the stuck open position, that is not the single most, but it is an absolute known fact that an engine that runs cooler loses MPG because the computer thinks it's warming up, and so the air-fuel ratio is adjusted improperly, so to speak. So that's the first thing that comes to my mind with regard to gas mileage. Another thing, of course, is tire pressure, alignment, but you'd have to be significantly poor aligned and low pressure to lose that's 30% MPG loss, right?
Correct. And I just had new tires and alignment done this last week. And the other thing is, it has been Arctic cold in Nebraska. We've had 0 or below temperatures for a couple of months off and on. Can that affect the mileage that much when it's at sub-zero temperatures?
Absolutely. And here's the bottom line. Let's shift to heat. Let's say you park your car. Let's say it's in the middle of the summertime, and you're at the Kearney, Nebraska car show, and let's say it's August, and it's 100 degrees outside. You park your car. Maybe you got a black car, and you got the windows rolled up, and you're at work, and you come out 4 hours later to go to lunch, and you're going to drive maybe 2 miles down to the restaurant to have lunch. Your air conditioner has that heat load, and it takes probably 10 miles to cool the car down. The same thing is true if it's 0 temperature or a single digit, because it takes a long time to get that engine up to operating temperature, especially an 06 model. Now, if you had a 16 model or a 12, 13-year model, they are changing, and manufacturers have changed the thermostats on automobiles, because the thermostats now control the upper part of the block and the lower part of the block as well, because, as you know, Michael, the cylinder head's where all the heat's made, right? So if you got the bottom of the block, if you've got the same thermostat that's controlling both of those, well, you're going to run forever before you really get the bottom of the block up to operating temperature. So what the manufacturers do now, they separate the two, even though they use the same common water pump, and it's a very sophisticated process that I've seen on cars. They separate those two so that the cylinder heads use the same water and circulate, and then whenever that coolant, not water, whenever that coolant gets 230 degrees, the fan comes on, and also that thermostat opens, but the bottom one stays closed. and it's a dual-stage thermostat, or in some cases, 2 thermostats. You've heard me speak of Motorrad. Well, Motorrad makes those thermostats. I mean, they're like 98.9 or 99.9 coverage in the industry, and they also make those thermostats and caps for the OEMs, for the car makers. So I said all that to say that the thermostat and the engine temperature control dictates MPG on every automobile, as does the environmental temperature. So it's really not fair to compare cold weather MPG with a norm, because there is no norm. It's not normal unless you are taking a 200-mile trip, and I've always found that the first 100 miles the MPG was never as good as it was the second and the third and the fourth 100 mile. So that's what I would recommend before you spend any more money on your 06 Honda. I would take a little trip, take a 50-mile trip and check it and drive it 50 miles. And although that's really not a fair MPG, but at least if you're specific enough, you'll catch on and you'll be able to record what the actual mileages are. And to that end, I check my mileage. You've heard me talk about I play a game, and it's a fun game for me. Every time I fill my car, without exception, I guess, without looking at how many gallons that I put in my tank, and I do a 2-click shutoff every time, and I guess, and as a rule, I've averaged 0.2 of a gallon, and I'll run my car to 0 miles to empty because it still has 1.4 gallons of fuel left in the 21.4 tank. And I do that, and all my teammates and my friends and my employees, they laugh at me. They say, one of these days you're going to call me and you're going to be out of gas. You can't. Now, I don't go across the Bay Bridge with 0 miles to empty, but as a rule, I only live 3.9 miles, so if something happens, I can get out and walk home or walk to the office here. So anyway, I do that so that I can maintain the knowledge of the health of my engine, and whenever my mileage, if I'm a half a gallon off on my guess of how many gallons it takes, then the next one I check it again. But what that does for me is it like it does for you, it lets you know the current operating condition of your engine, and if something's wrong, it doesn't tell you what's wrong. It just tells you if there is something wrong. You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your call, Michael. We'll take a call now. 888-227-2546 from Dan in Texas. Dan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Morning,
My
sir.
name is Dan, and you got me at an advantage. I can't hear this, but I had a friend call me and tell me about you. Bobby, I have a 2018 Canyon. It has a 3.6-liter engine in it. Are you familiar with the oil filter where it's located?
I am not.
Oh, my God. You're in for a culture shock yourself here.
It would not be the first time, Dan. I will tell you, every time a new car comes out, and to that end, and I'll turn the mic back to you, but my wife drives a smart car. She just returned from getting a new smart car that I found in Boston, and she made a 5-state stop tour. She left on Monday morning, and she got home last evening or yesterday at 2 o'clock, drove 1,510 miles and averaged 42 miles per gallon. Now, on the last leg, she averaged from Atlanta to Pensacola, she averaged 38 point something, but she went 1,510 miles on this vehicle, and I said all that to say this. The smart car has a PCV valve, as every car does. Well, some use an orifice. The smart car PCV valve, early models, the 08 and 09, Dan, will self-destruct, and the engine will suck the oil out of the pan, run the engine dry, and it will flood the engine with oil, and it will foul all the plugs. And we have found 2 of those cars, and yet you would think the PCV valve is easy. You have to pull the engine to gain access to the PCV valve in a smart car. Is that weird, strange, hard? Anyway, back to you.
Well, I almost forgot where I was at, but you're right about that. Damn, I thought I had a problem until I heard that.
I mean, it's unbelievable. The intake, the side of the block. Are you familiar with a catch can?
No, give me a little detail what that is.
Well, you know, your engine and all engines, your engine will have this problem. All engines, especially direct injection engines, and all engines suck the vapors out of the oil pan through the PCV system. And they put those vapors into the intake of the engine. Well, because you have direct injection, there's no gasoline that washes the back of the intake valve because there's no port injection anymore. It's a direct injection into the piston. So the oil vapor that comes from the pan through the PCV system creates black lung disease into the back of the intake valve. And so as your car is driving, the vapors create a film of oil on the intake, the plenum, and the ports and the valves. And every time you turn the vehicle off and let it sit overnight, it creates a layer and it coats and it coats. And by the time you get 35, 40, 50,000 miles, you have drivability issues. And that's an ongoing problem with direct injection and PCV systems. Anyway, I got a hard break coming up. What other question? Well, you stay right there. And Mike and Marty and Scott and Alice, you all stay right there. I'm going to come back to you. And Dan, great to hear from you. And you can catch us at watchbobbylive.com. Folks, don't touch the dial. I'll be back. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. Jim touched on some of the additional products Diablo Sport has to offer.
In addition to the Diablo Sport lineup of tuners, Diablo Sport also offers Jammer cold air intake systems and Hooker Blackheart exhaust kits. These kits work in concert with the Predator 2, Intune i3, and Trinity 2 programmers to deliver increased fuel economy, mileage, and overall performance for your gas truck or SUV.
Folks, Diablo Sports performance products make the perfect holiday gift, and now is a perfect time to buy with their holidays savings. How cool is that? You get up to 20% off SRP on their extensive lineup of premium performance products. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. She showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now, you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. 27 years, folks. We are celebrating 27 years. And just for your information, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, 10 till noon Eastern Time, You can catch this program on your local AM and or FM radio program, or our global cast, which is a video in HD on our YouTube channel. And it's youtube.com/Bobby Likis, or easier yet, now that it's back in order after this cyber attack that was happened just last week, at watchbobbylive.com. And Dan in Texas is on the phone with me now. And Dan, you can catch this program every Saturday at watchbobbylive.com from anywhere in the world. Now, back to you on your 18 Canyon and the oil filter location. Where is it located?
It's on the firewall under the hood, right in front of the vacuum booster. It is totally hidden. I mean, you have to stand up. I looked all underneath the bottom of it through, when at a salesman, and then finally he called the oil change people out there. I had the hood up because I was just perplexed. He walked up and he said, see, and he pointed his hand down behind all the hoses. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
So let me ask this question. Are you so you're saying it's not on the engine? It's attached to the frame and has hoses from the engine to it, or is it underneath the parts of the hood and just hard access, but on the engine?
Okay, it is on the engine. It's extremely hard. It's not accessible. I like to put. I've relocated different filters on different engines that I've had.
Right.
I like to know if anyone makes a filter adapter relocator is what I'm trying to get at.
I would not recommend that, and here's why, Dan. Number one, and it goes back many years ago. When you change the design of the OEM, number one, and something happens, or not, you still have voided the warranty, especially when you have lifeblood, which is the oil pressure of an engine. So I wouldn't even consider going there. Okay. Number two, anytime that, even if you remounted or mounted an oil filter away from the engine in the right location, a lot of today's filters have multiple O-rings and passageways internally, and whenever the oil filter is changed, the cartridge type, if that O-ring is not replaced properly, then the engine will lose oil pressure because it directs the flow of oil, and there's bypass valves within the structure and design of the engine. So don't go there. I mean, I know what you're saying. Now, philosophically, why in the world would GM hide an oil filter and make it so atrociously hard to get to? And the only thing I could say, I don't know, except drive an owner back to the dealership who's familiar with the nature of that beast. That's the only thing I could say. It just doesn't make sense, and I really appreciate you calling today. And just for you to know, every Saturday from 10 till noon, you can catch me at watchbobbylive.com. I've got a full bank of calls. I'd love to talk with you again, but so stay tuned and check our website out, Car Clinic Network. It's all one word, carclinicnetwork.com. Dan, where do you live in Texas?
I live in a remote area, Lake Rayburn. I used to live in Houston, but I don't live, so I've lost a lot of contacts there.
Okay. Well, it's great to hear from you, and I sure appreciate you calling, and call again sometime, anytime, okay?
Bobby, have a good day. Thank you much.
Thank you, Dan.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, let's go to Illinois, and Scott is on the line with a 17 Wrangler. Scott, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. How may I help you?
Hi, Bobby. My issue is 17 Wrangler. I got 36,000 miles on it.
Okay.
I've taken it to the dealer twice because I'm losing coolant, and they have pressure tested it twice and have found no problems, haven't found any leaks, and they just give it back to me. I've lost roughly half the reservoir tank in about 3,000 miles.
Okay. Well, number one, normally if you had an 07 Wrangler, I would say add a bottle of K-Seal. But in this case, you don't want to do anything and K-Seal is a fabulous product. It wouldn't hurt you, and it would probably fix your issue. But here's the bottom line. You have a new automobile still on the manufacturer's warranty. They have to find the issue, or they have to go deeper into the engine because you got a new car here, basically, and you don't want to wait till 50,000 miles when it's out of warranty, and then you find out that it's got a pinhole in the block somewhere that was there from day one. So here's what I'm going to suggest. And I don't think that you got an internal block area. I think that you do have an issue. Let me ask this question. You drive the vehicle. Do you park this in the garage or in the carport?
In the garage.
Okay. So I want you to come home from your normal trip, and I want you to get out of the car, close the garage door, the engine shut off, and I want you to open the hood and smell the engine. You will, if there's an external leak that does not show up anywhere on the floor, and I know this, I've had this happen to 2 different cars that I own, including my current car. You can have such a minor leak that the coolant will never touch the ground because it will evaporate and dry. But what you will see is, and you will smell, that sweet leak of coolant that smells like the opposite of raw gasoline. Raw gas has that real powerful, pungent odor. Well, coolant does as well, but it's of course different. It smells like, I don't know what it smells like, but you know what I'm saying. So here's what I want you to do. So I want you to use your nose to look for a leak, and if you smell any coolant, then you'll know it's external. And then here's what I want you to do. Look for a ring around the collar. And here, what I mean by that, if you sprayed Windex on a window and then did not wipe it off and let it dry, you'd come back and you'd see the big splotch where you sprayed it, right?
Right.
Okay. I don't want you to look for leaking coolant. I want you to look around the weep hole and the seams of the intake manifold and the gaskets and the water pump. I want you to look for evidence of a white or reddish or yellowish caustic looking like corrosion in a swimming pool, because if you have an external leak that doesn't show up, it will leave evidence because it's dried, but it won't leave the block will be stained by that, just like Windex on a window will be stained. I found this on a Mini Cooper that was a thermostat gasket leaking, and that was an 06 brand new Mini Cooper with 12,000 miles on it, which is a common problem. I won't be buying a Mini Cooper again. And also I have a 13 Jag that I had built to my specifications, and it had a defective design water pump that it took Jag 8 years to replace. And my car had 3 water pumps on it before I finally waited until they redesigned the pump. And the last one that I put on, I could smell the coolant when I got out of the car in my garage, but I could never see it until I pulled the water pump off, and lo and behold, there it was on one of the seams of the 3-piece water pump that was replaced with the 2-piece. So the bottom line is, you can find it. You got to stay committed and look for evidence of where it was, not catching it in the act. You got it?
Got it.
All right. Thanks for your call.
Thanks, Bobby.
Take another call from Louisiana. Alice from Louisiana. Good morning and welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Can you hear me, Bobby?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good. Okay. I did have a question about just changing brake fluids and power steering fluids, and how efficient or effective that is. Is it necessary? All the time that I've heard that there's rubber components in there and they're going to wear out no matter what. And I'm not sure, is that still the same, or have they made it better now?
Well, both questions are true. Both of your scenarios are true. It is better. Fluids are better. Engines are better. However, brake fluid, Alice, is hygroscopic, which means that it absorbs and attracts moisture. And the brake reservoir has an open vent to the atmosphere, because when your pads wear out, the fluid drops down because that piston that you pushes out. And I don't want to get technical except to tell you that the brake fluid should be exchanged or flushed every 2 years. Now, you mentioned power steering fluid. Nowhere at any time in my lifetime, which is 47 years in the the 11th of this month, 48 years in my automotive service shop, never have I seen through any automobile manufacturer where it says change the power steering fluid. And to that end, I will say this, including on my own cars. If you took, Alice, if we took a gallon of cooking oil and put it on the stove at 200 degrees, we really wouldn't cook anything very fast, right?
Right.
Okay, but if we left it on the stove for a week, well, you laugh, but what if we left a gallon of cooking oil at 200 degrees on the stove for a year?
Whoa, okay.
We'd have to throw the pot away because it would be dark and burn, and right? Well, power steering fluid runs about 200, 210 degrees and has no filter, and every manufacturer that puts a filter in the power steering system has to end up taking it out because it restricts the flow, there's no bypass, and causes a whee on the power steering. So any car, and here's what I'll tell you to this, and any technician you go to, take a car that's got 50,000 miles, turn the engine off with the operating temperature, open the hood, take the power steering filler cap off, and put your nose near the reservoir, and you will smell burned dark fluid, and that fluid is metastasized. All of the metal particles that create by the pump and by the power steering gearbox itself travel throughout the system and wears the system out. That is the single most neglected, other than battery terminals, part of an automobile is a power steering fluid. And when I replaced the water pump in my car, we had to pull the reservoir off of the car, and the interior of the power steering reservoir had this black, the fluid had been changed because I changed the fluid 35,000 miles, but the reservoir itself had a black coating. We had to take the reservoir off and use carburetor spray cleaner to clean it out. Anyway, I got to go, but just to tell you, the lifebloods of your car, just like your blood gets renewed, and I'm not a doctor, but you know, our blood cells get refreshed all the time or we die, right? Cars, they run the same fluid, the same transmission fluid, the same differential, same brake fluid, and I will tell you, people think changing oil and filters all there is to maintaining a car. Couldn't be further from the truth. You've got to change the fluids of the car. I say minimum 50,000, best time 30 to 40,000 miles. Thank you for your call from Louisiana, Alice. Got to take another call. We'll take a call from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, how you doing, Bobby?
Terrific. What can I do for you?
So I got a 03 F-150, and as I could be driving down the road, take my foot off the gas, and the RPMs will hang at about anywhere between 1,000, 2,000 RPMs there. Okay. And it will go down if I do come to a stop. You know, it's putting a lot of wear. I had to replace brakes because of this issue. I've looked all over for vacuum leaks. I couldn't find any. The thing that I'm looking at now is the cylinder head coolant sensor.
Right.
That's what I was told, and I mean that's kind of a task.
Okay.
I might have to pull the intake manifold off.
No, wait. Okay, you come to me. I'm a doctor. You got you got a chest pain, and I look at you in the face and say, "Oh, we got to do open heart surgery." And the first thing you'd say to me, "Wait, doc, shouldn't we do some tests? Shouldn't I do a stress test?" So, I want you to help you, Mike. I want you to remove any thoughts of replacing any parts on your F-150. Period. I want you to test it first, stress test. How do you do that? Very easy. You go to a professional shop, you connect their professional scan tool, not a code reader like you can get at any parts store, but a professional scan tool, and you monitor the engine RPM, the engine temperature, the throttle position, let's see what else, O2 sensor. You monitor all of the immediate factors used to tune the engine, and you compare what the readings are to what known good readings are in any professional ASE master technician, and it's got to be an ASE certified tech, in my opinion, that will be able to say, hey, wait a minute, air control module or your idle throttle plate or the very sensor that you're thinking about replacing is not within specs. You do that first. And if you're not sure, you call me back next week and we'll discuss it more deeply, but call me earlier because we're out of time. Folks, Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part today by Diablo Sport. I mentioned Diablo Sport a little earlier in the program, but you can take the guesswork out of trying to pair performance products. The Reaper Stage 1 kit is the perfect combo, and it's designed to improve power, drivability, and potentially mileage. Drive to DiabloSport.com for all the information and for more information. Thank you so much for tuning in. A great program today, and please remember, 10 till noon Eastern Time every Saturday. I've got so much information that I want to share with you, but I'm out of time for this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to thank you for your confidence in me. As always, I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Again, next Saturday, 10 till noon Eastern Time at Watch Bobby Live or on your local AM and FM radio. I'm Bobby Likis. See you then.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Save on your next oil change with 5 quarts of Castrol GTX high mileage motor oil and a MicroGuard filter on sale now for the same price as Castrol Conventional for just $26.99. Improve engine performance in your vehicle with Castrol motor oil at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer. Superchips Performance Programmers increase performance for gas and diesel motors throughout the RPM band by installing an engineered performance calibration on your vehicle's computer. This can improve MPG, optimize shift patterns, and elevate driving experience. Check out the new Pulsar programmer at superchips.com. The Pulsar provides shift-on-the-fly power for your Hemi engine. That's superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Fortress Mountain